Hello everybody, today I want to talk about which substrate is suitable for the growing exotic mushroom. In Australia we say gourmet mushroom, exotic mushroom like shiitake, lion's mane, king oyster and shimji, enoki, lion's mane, and these are exotic mushrooms. Which substrate is suitable, especially for you that you want to grow to saffron. Beside the growing saffron and growing exotic mushroom with two purpose, it will be great, especially that 90% of the equipment that we use in the exotic mushroom and the saffron is the same. Therefore, you can make a profit the 100% of your equipment. Which substrate is suitable? At the first step, you should know all exotic mushroom, all the mushroom for the growing, for the fruiting needs two elements, carbon and nitrogen. Carbon and nitrogen, all exotic mushroom. Also bottle mushroom or the white mushroom also need to carbon to nitrogen. But the question is, which substrate provide these elements for us? Okay, you told us we need to carbon and nitrogen. For the substrate, that's beautiful substrate. This is the exotic mushroom substrate with the 3 kilogram weight. This is for the growing now, starting for the opening after the finishing vegetative phase. I want to say you that which substrate is suitable. What is this substrate? Okay, how we can calculate the ratio. Carbon and nitrogen. For the providing the carbon, you can find in the wood sources, like the wood trunk, like that used in the, for example, you can use it from the wood workshops and the trunk for the carbon. And for nitrogen, you can find in the all oil plant seeds, like the soybean meal, like the sunflower, like the cottonseed meal, cottonseed. This is the oil. Wood, okay, how we can use in the substrate for the exotic mushroom? The best way, you should the sawdust or wood chips. What is the sawdust and what is wood chips? I want to show you, for the carbon, we have two options. Tree trunk, and the wood that uses in the carpenter, in the building, in the shelves. My recommendation is, because this is completely natural, the best carbon, including the carbon, the best carbon, and also this wood, because after some process, after adding some chemicals converted to this shape, and they tolerate very high temperature, very hard processes. Therefore, they may be during this process that converted to this beautiful wood, maybe lose some natural carbon, some natural element that we don't want. We need for the mushroom all the natural, exactly that happening in the nature. If you go to the forest or the jungle, you can see a trunk that's separated from the tree. You can see the best mushroom on the trunk. Therefore, for the substrate, I recommend to use the natural wood, like the wood trunk. Okay, wood trunk, which tree is good? Mango, oak, like all the trees that you use, that you see will be perfect. But all mushrooms, due to my experience, some mushroom needs a special tree. But for example, this is the oak and the mango will be great. Another things for the making the compost, for the making substrate, in the natural wood, you can harvest the best mushroom as a quantity. Even in the quality, the person that the customers, consumers that they consume the mushroom, also the properties of the mushroom that grow in the natural is much better, because there is not any chemicals that the wood that used in the home or the workshop. Okay, how can they use the wood for the making the compost? Okay, this is you have two ways for the making the substrate. sawdust and the wood chips. This is, you know, when okay, this is sawdust. Okay, they gather, and this is a, you know, this is sawdust, very small particles. This is a sawdust. One of the way is the sawdust. And you know, another thing is wood chips. Wood chips, like very bigger than this. Like this is wood chips, a little bigger one than this. Okay, therefore this is wood chips and sawdust. Now the question is, which of them is better for the making the compost? My answer, both of them. It's better you use both of them, because when you use 100% of the sawdust, this is a very small, and when mycelium want to move and spread, all the surface will be suffocated, because we should the humid, we should the wet and add the water, and therefore high humidity causes all the glue and stick together, and mycelium is not able to the growing and spread all the surface. Therefore 100% I don't recommend. Usually if you want to provide the carbon I recommend use the both of them. Is it possible use 100% of the wood chips? The answer is not. It's better when you put the all together, the wood chips together, and mycelium is not able to gather, because they are not coherent, because they are not cut exactly, unlike the sawdust completely together, but they are far, and mycelium needs very close together. Mycelium needs a substrate that easily not, for example, if you put together, and therefore you can see the mycelium is not able to continue its growing. Therefore when you mix, they complete each other, these two substrates. Okay, and mycelium, these wood chips create a lot of space between the substrate, and mycelium easily is able to the growing to the substrate. The mix of the wood chips and sawdust for carbon. Okay, when you use the 100% sawdust, because they are so small, in the 7 days all nutrients will be finished, and you maybe, if you 100% sawdust you use, in the you are able only to receive one flush, because high quantity, but instead of the 3 weeks or 2 weeks you receive in the 5 days, because they are small and the nutrients inside and quickly will be finished, and the mycelium fit and fruiting create. Wood chips helps we cut this time, instead of the 7 days and the huge, we will have 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but part by part is also is perfect for the customer, because customer want you gradually receive the exotic mushroom from the factory. Does it help you? You divide the time of the flush, because this is a very bigger one and hardly release the nutrients inside itself. Okay, the wood chips. Sawdust completely different, quickly release its nutrients, because they are small, exactly like the fire. When we make a fire in the sawdust, in the 3 seconds you can see high flame of the fire, but is gradually start to the burning. Therefore for the carbon, I told you the mix of the sawdust and the wood chips the best. And for the, I told you another element that is important is the oil seeds, like this. Now the question, how can I use it? Can I directly use in the substrate? My question is, the best way, after the process of the extracting oil, need to the factory, need to some machine that we completely compress, and then after receiving the oil and the residues, the remains of the seeds or cotton seed meal or the soybean meal, and the best way for the using the substrate, because residues of the meals also perfect for the exotic mushroom. You can sell the oil to the food industry, and also you use residues in the exotic mushroom. Why? Because if you only use this without extracting the oil, you lose the other benefits from the selling the oil, but doesn't make sense, doesn't have economical justification. It's better we other purposes. After residues is the best for the exotic mushroom. But the question is, okay, I want to make the compost in my home. I don't need to the receiving. Is it possible? The answer is yes, you can use without extracting, because some of you don't have any machine for the extracting oil, maybe access to the factory is a whole, and you want to buy easily from the store, and therefore start to the growing. If you want to use only oil seed, like the sunflower, like the corn, like the cotton meal, cotton seed, and the soybean, it's much better. You should completely cut. You should completely cut them and very small, so that the mycelium easily start to the moving. Therefore, this is substrate. That's very clear. The mix of the substrate that including carbon and the nitrogen. You can define for the carbon in the sawdust and the tree trunk, mix of the sawdust and the wood chips, and for the nitrogen you can use easily this soybean meal. But the best one is the soybean meal, in the cottonseed meal, in the canola meal. This one after. But the question is, how much carbon, how much? You know, all the videos I have seen, all the books, for example, say only 80, for example, 70%, for example, wood chips, 20% the substrate including nitrogen, for example, 20% soybean meal, 80% wood chips, 80, for example, 40% sawdust. This is wrong when we say we say with the percentage. It's not correct with the percentage. We have the machine near easily provide for you the ratio of the carbon to nitrogen. All exotic mushroom, after the mixing the substrate with the carbon, with the including nitrogen, the mix of the sawdust wood chip with the this oil seed, after the mixing, you need to reach the ratio is very important, because you provide the carbon, you provide the nitrogen. The ratio of the carbon to nitrogen is very important. Okay, you should know this ratio. Okay, I told you, you have some way. First one is the NER. This is so expensive, doesn't make sense for you. You want to produce maximum per month 5 tons, 10 tons, and maybe $50,000, $70,000. Okay, this machine easily provide for you the ratio of the carbon nitrogen. But if we have another simple way for the formulation, in my book completely explained with a very, very simple way, you can reach the ratio of the carbon to nitrogen for the growing exotic mushroom. At the end of the video, I will tell you how you can buy. Okay, but after the mixing, okay, what is the best ratio of the carbon to nitrogen? For each mushroom we have the different, but for example, for the king oyster, the best ratio of the carbon to nitrogen is the near 30, 35. For example, for the white mushroom, button mushroom, we need to ratio near the 17 after the phase 2. But in the exotic mushroom, when you gather all the substrate together, you should know what is the ratio, the carbon of nitrogen. You cannot, for example, only 80% sawdust and the wood chip and 20% soybean meal and or the cottonseed meal. After that, you mix, and then for the bagging. Before bagging, for example, you provide 5 tons substrate, the mix of the sawdust with chips and the cottonseed meal or this oil meal. You should calculate. For example, if the ratio is near the 50, 70, for example, this is very high, the ratio of the, that means you use a lot of substrate including carbon. Therefore, mushroom is not able to grow perfectly. Therefore, for before the making before the bagging, you should change. You cannot on the paper, okay, 80% and the bagging for the sterilization 121 2 hours and the finish. You should step by step, you should calculate, okay, I gather and mix, and did I reach to the 30, the ratio of the carbon nitrogen? If the 30 35, okay, it's perfect. But if is it, for example, like the 20, it means you use a lot of substrate including nitrogen. If the ratio of the carbon to nitrogen, that the majority of the traditional farmers exactly like this, the ratio of the carbon to nitrogen is the 50 60, because first they don't know how you can calculate, or another one, they don't have any access to the suitable wood, and the carbon sometimes reach to the 60, reach to the 70. For example, if the ratio of the carbon to nitrogen be 50 or 60, mushroom is not able to start. Only receive one flash, and the small mushrooms or their shape is not suitable. Therefore, it's very important for the knowing the ratio of the carbon to nitrogen. After understanding which mushroom needs to which ratio of the carbon to nitrogen, you can there add the water and then the mix, then go to the autoclave. After autoclave, after the cooling, you can add the sponge and then back, and you receive the best mushroom. I hope you understand what I said. But if you need my book, Exotic Mushroom, Complete Exotic Mushroom PDF, plus a complete business plan, all exotic mushroom, like in my book, I have mentioned to the shiitake, lion's mane, cordyceps, pink oyster, yellow oyster, namiko, and lion's mane, and ganoderma, all exotic mushroom, plus a complete business plan, standard business plan. I have mentioned, I have the consider very short time. I recommend if you want to buy, now you buy that, because this is I have this category with the book, the category of the complete business plan, and the mix of the videos step by step. I have explained which mushroom needs which ratio of the carbon nitrogen, how we can calculate. For each step, I have provided dimension, the contact number for the buying the sponge, for the buying the compost. Also, I have considered for the equipment, like the equipment, I have mentioned, explain how you can provide a composting line, how you can make your own compost. From which company the best for the buying, like the autoclave, like the laminar hood, like the blender, like the conveyor, for the building compost, for the growing mushroom. If you need my book about the exotic mushroom, it is enough. It takes me on WhatsApp 0098 935 825 3945.